Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the John DeVito Show. It is Tuesday. It feels like a Monday, but it's Tuesday after Memorial Day weekend. And I hope everyone out there had a great Memorial Day weekend. Ours was a little rainy up here in the Northeast. So we were on Long Island, New York, for a baseball tournament for my son, Ethan. And we traveled down, drove to Connecticut, and then took the Bridgeport, Connecticut ferry over to Long Island. Kind of cool. You get to drive your car right on the ferry, and they have like big trucks in there and things like that. It's really a big ferry, kind of impressive to actually go on this and check it out. So we drove over to Long Island and got there, and we spent basically 2 days and 2 nights in the hotel because it literally downpoured the entire time we were there. We ended up playing 0 baseball games, and we were in a hotel with 15 kids, a bunch of parents. The pool wasn't open, so it was kind of a long weekend. But the good news is the baseball tournament finally pulled the plug on Sunday, and we were able to go home, which we did. So we were able to get home yesterday, got to chill out a little bit yesterday, and, of course, enjoy Memorial Day yesterday, which was, of course, a very important day in our country's history, where we basically honor all of the fallen soldiers that have fought to give us the freedom that we live with every day. So thank you to all of the veterans, past and present and future, that are going to be going out there and risking their lives to give us freedom, so we can enjoy being able to go to things like baseball tournaments over Memorial Day weekend. So, hey, welcome to everybody coming in. Eric, Jess, Mike, good to see you all. Hopefully everything is going well for everybody. Things here are good. It's a pretty nice day today. It is Tuesday at about 11:30, and we're looking at temperatures in the mid to high 70s today. And then for the remainder of the week, we're going to be up in the 80s. So, we're kind of in that sweet spot of weather now here in Massachusetts, where for the next several months, we get beautiful warm temperatures, and, really right into November, the weather is good. So we're kind of out and enjoying all of that. But yeah, Memorial Day weekend was a little disappointing for us anyway. Hopefully in other areas of the country, you all got nice weather. I'm sure, Florida had the usual beautiful weather that it does. Georgia, I'm sure, as well. I'm not sure about other places in the country, but we literally got, it was in the 40s over the weekend, maybe in the 50s if we were lucky. Wind, cold, just downpouring. I think we got, they said 3 to 4 inches of rain over the weekend. So that's a lot of rain. Yeah, Jess, sorry to hear that it was crappy where you are also. We were kind of hoping for better weather here. But what are you going to do? We keep hearing that we needed the rain, and I'm not sure why we need the rain, because we get snow all winter and rain all spring, and you still have the weather people that are talking about, we need the rain. We have a deficit. I think we need less rain. I think we need more sunshine here in New England, and less rain and less snow and all that good stuff. So it is what it is. See, Mike from Tampa Bay, he knows. But in Florida, though, it's hot there, but they get a lot of rain. They get those nasty thunderstorms almost every afternoon, and it just downpours for a while, but then it stops and the sun comes back out. So, it's all good. So I love Florida, as you all know, and I see the trouble has really entered the podcast now that Mr. A is here. So I see that the trouble has arrived. So now we have to be ready. Now, up here in Massachusetts, we got some good news. The mask mandate was finally removed. And again, I'm not here to make fun of anybody. I'm not here to put anybody down. I'm not here to judge anybody. But still, even after Dr. Fauci, Joe Biden, and now the governor of Massachusetts, Charlie Baker, have all agreed to remove the mask mandates for, people who are vaccinated, I would say that the majority of people in stores, in different places here in Massachusetts, are still wearing their masks. And I guess my question is, why? I mean, why are people still wearing the masks? I saw an interview with Dr. Fauci the other day. Not a huge fan, but he did say that if you've been vaccinated, then you have almost no chance of getting COVID. So that's a good thing for people that have been vaccinated. I did choose to get vaccinated, but I don't think people should be forced to get vaccinated. If you choose that you don't want to be vaccinated, that this is America, it's a free country, and the people who haven't been vaccinated, even if they happen to get get COVID, I mean, again, if there's no chance of people that have gotten the vaccination to get the disease, I'm not sure why people are afraid to take their masks off. And it kind of makes me worried because I see that so many people seem to be living in fear. And in my opinion, one of the worst things that can happen to you in life is if you live in a perpetual state of fear. Because if you're afraid all of the time, afraid that you're going to lose your job, afraid that you're not going to be good enough at something, afraid that you're not going to be successful, then chances are you're not going to be successful and you're not going to, be able to live a happy, productive life. I would go as far as saying that I think one of the most destructive things that we have in society and in life is fear. And I feel bad. I mean, a lot of people right now are still living in fear. And I think, Mike is right where he says, we have to get to, finally herd immunity. We do need to get there. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And I think a lot of people have been vaccinated. And for me, even though over the last couple of weeks, we in Massachusetts were supposed to still be wearing our masks, I just threw mine away. I'm not going to wear them anymore into businesses. I'm not going to wear them in. I've got my vaccinations. I've done what I'm supposed to do. I didn't have any negative side effects with the vaccinations. And for me, I'm going to go out and live my life the way I want to live my life. And, I guess, times have changed. I mean, I'm a little bit older than some of the people in here. Welcome to everybody coming in. Cummings, good to see you, man. BAA Ram Podcast. Clint, welcome to the show. But, for me, back in the 70s and 80s, man, life was different. People lived with vigor. People went out and they didn't live in fear. I mean, you look at all the old memes you see and videos of, kids riding their bikes, no helmets, jumping off of ramps, coming home scraped and beaten up, and they weren't spending their lives sitting in front of video games. And, it seems like for whatever reason over the last 20 years, society has wanted to bubble wrap the American public. They started with children. It's not safe for kids to be outside playing anymore. Now, I get it. There's a lot of bad things that happen in society. Kids are abducted. Things happen to children. But again, those are really the exceptions and not the norms. And again, if it happens to your child, obviously it's traumatic. But I mean, we've gotten to a point in society where we're afraid to let children live their lives. We have to protect them every minute of the day. We've created a generation of helicopter parents that don't let their kids go out and play and don't let their kids fail and don't let their kids go out and learn, creative play when you're out running around the neighborhood, riding your bikes, doing different things. And now it's kind of permeated adults also, where society is trying to just kind of control us, protect us, put us in bubble wrap. And, again, I'm a guy that I guess you could say I'm borderline in the danger zone when it comes to COVID. I'm older, overweight, whatever else. But for me, I refuse to live my life in fear. I don't want to live a life of fear where I'm afraid of failing, afraid of dying, afraid of everything. Because if you live that way, then your whole life is going to be consumed by fear. And when you're consumed by fear, you can't enjoy your life. So this whole thing with COVID and the masks, I see everyone still wearing their mask, despite the government telling you can take them off now if you've been vaccinated. And quite frankly, if people haven't been vaccinated and they don't want to wear their masks, I don't care. It doesn't affect me because the vaccination supposedly protects me from it. You've got all the children that are still wearing their masks. And I think it's time that after 14 months of these poor children, being forced to wear masks, for them to be allowed to take them off in school and be allowed to take them off and live their lives. And I think we've put them through enough. So anyway, this whole show isn't going to be about masks. I just wanted to kind of address that because I'm kind of happy where Massachusetts finally dropped that mask mandate. And, I get to finally go into a store now without feeling that I'm like, an evil person for not caring about others because I want to protect my freedom not to wear a mask. So I got a couple little things I want to mention, and then we'll get into talking about the main thing I want to talk about today that we'll get to in a second. But I'm sure you guys have seen some of the news. And for those of you here, I am a UFO guy. Did you see the government is going to be releasing UFO information maybe as early as today, but definitely sometime in June? Now, for me, okay, the bottom line is awesome. You're going to release UFO information, and I would love to know more about what's actually happening in the universe and out there. But the bottom line is, if you're showing me blips on a screen, you know what? I want more than that. I want to see some alien sitting back in Roswell, New Mexico, with a beer in his hand, watching sports on a big screen TV and being interviewed about the origins of the universe. That's what I want to see. I want to see an alien come out and sit down and have a cup of coffee with Joe Biden. Chances are the alien, even if he doesn't speak English, will probably make more sense than our president does when he comes out and actually talks to everybody. So I want to see real stuff. I want to see an alien in person. I want to be able to meet one. I don't want to just see blips on the screen. So if that's what you're talking about, and Cummings says he doesn't think aliens exist, they may or they may not. I've never seen one in person, so I can't really say if they exist or not. They probably don't. I mean, it could be a government conspiracy where they're hiding, the aircrafts that we actually have and, some of the aircrafts that other countries have. I mean, if you think about when you see the stealth bomber, the stealth bomber is amazing. It is just the coolest piece of technology when you see one fly overhead. We invented that like 50 years ago. So can you imagine some of the technology that our government has now that we have no idea actually exists? So let's see, Joe Biden. Okay, that's it for me. Oh, hey, now Joe Biden could be an alien. I'm not sure if he is or not. But you're right. When you mention Joe Biden, that's generally it for a lot of people. Now, did you see also, in addition to the UFO today, we have a giant asteroid passing by Earth? It was kind of funny. On the Boston News this morning, Fox 25 News, I think the woman made a mistake because she was saying that the asteroid, which is the size of the Space Needle, is going to be passing by the Earth, and it's going to be fairly close, she said. She said it's going to pass by Earth at 138 miles. I think she meant 138 million miles, but I'm surprised she didn't start getting phone calls, into the news station saying, holy shit, 138 miles, is this thing going to hit us or what? So it was kind of funny, but a lot of things going on. The government could be releasing alien information. We get a giant asteroid passing by Earth. And honestly, the whole idea of an asteroid passing by Earth, quite frankly, am I the only one? That kind of scares the crap out of me. When's it going to happen where one of these giant asteroids finally hits us? There's so many out there traveling through space, and we seem to be having these near misses like every couple of weeks. To me, it's only a matter of time before we get like a big boy hitting the Earth someplace and doing some damage. So the whole asteroid thing kind of freaks me out, quite frankly. Kind of scares me a little bit. Hey, Deborah, welcome into the show. Good to see you. Victor, good to see you. Thank you for everybody coming in. I greatly appreciate it. Freedom Warrior, welcome to the show. So if anybody is here and it's the first time, please follow my show. If you could share my live, I would greatly appreciate it. Let's see. Space is fake. You know what's funny? It's funny you say that. I've thought of that before. Space being fake. We're just in this enclosed system. Now, could you imagine that we actually could be like a science project on some kid's desk in his bedroom somewhere, and we're in this giant enclosed, ecosystem that we don't even realize we're here. Who knows what our existence is? But I've thought about that before, that space could be fake. If you've seen the Truman Show with Jim Carrey, that movie, that's kind of what that was based on, where the whole thing was just created and it wasn't even like a real place he was living. Now, let's see. So I see. Okay, BAA Ram is talking about the flat Earth. We had a guy that came into the show, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and he was talking about the flat Earth theory. And honestly, when I first heard him, I'm like, this guy is nuts. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. The Earth obviously isn't flat. But then when you research it more and you read about it, you do see that there are a lot of arguments about the flat Earth theory that do kind of hold some water and make sense. So, who knows? I've gotten to the point in my life where I don't know what's the truth, what's a lie. The government could know everything about everything, and we just don't know. Who knows what the truth is about space, about the Earth, about our place in the universe? It's just kind of crazy stuff. So, the government's going to be throwing us some crumbs sometime this month about UFOs, and who knows what that's gonna be. But so going on to my list now. Okay, I had you guys know I have to go in this direction. Who saw Joe Biden's creepy comments over the weekend about the young elementary school age girl? Did anybody see those comments? I mean, man, the guy just does like the creepiest things. And this is not going to be, all about Joe Biden being creepy, but he sees a young girl during his speech and he stops. She's like elementary school level. So that could be third, fourth, fifth grade. Who knows? So he looks over and makes the comment, "Hey, I really like your barrettes. They're so pretty. You look like you could be 19 years old the way you're sitting there all grown up with your legs crossed." I'm sorry, but who the hell makes those kind of comments about little girls who are sitting around? I mean, if I see a little girl all dressed up with her barrettes in, wearing a dress and crossing her legs, I mean, that is the last thing in the world that's going to come to mind, is to me to make some like weird comment about a child. So, hey, Light Bright, welcome to the show. Good to see you. So anyway, I'm sure that some of you probably saw that. So what we've talked about so far, people that are coming in, we talked about the rain I experienced on Long Island this weekend, mask mandates in Massachusetts being dropped. We've talked about the government releasing UFO information sometime this month. It could even be today. We talked about the giant asteroid passing by Earth, and then Joe Biden's creepy comments that he made about a young girl over the weekend. So I don't know. I don't know what's up with that man, but the man just creeps me out. So, hey, to everybody here, hopefully you guys all had a great Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully some of you had better weather than we had up here in New England. Now, did you all see also that China has decided to change their policy, and they're going to allow families to have 3 children as opposed to 2? Now, I'm not sure if anyone saw that. That was in the news today. I'm doing really well, Light Bright. It's good to see you. So I see Cummings is saying China has a new virus, but follow me through on this one. Now, China, for many, many years, has had a policy where they only allow, they dictate to people, pretty much everything about their life. And some people swear by that culture. And for me, I grew up in a free country. And for me, it's not something I would ever welcome into my life. But the coronavirus started in Wuhan, China. I think everyone can agree on that. And the coronavirus attacked older Americans. People took the lives of a lot of elderly people. This thing originated in China. A lot of elderly people in China lost their lives. And now China has changed their policy where they're going to allow their families to now have 3 children as opposed to two children. So to me, I mean, is it just me? Am I being paranoid? Or is that something that just seems like it's kind of crazy that all of a sudden, you have this coronavirus where you lose literally millions of elderly people across the world for the most part. I mean, we've lost some middle-aged people, some younger people as well, but the vast majority have been older. And now all of a sudden when that happens, China comes out and says, okay, we created this disease. We killed old people all throughout the world. We've thinned that population of people that rely in this country on Social Security and on government benefits. We've now thinned that population, and now we're going to allow families to have 3 children. So to me, I don't know. It just makes me think. It makes me wonder. It kind of makes me just question why this would happen at this point where we're just coming out of this coronavirus pandemic. And all of a sudden China says, you know what, we're going to let our families have more children now. So it's kind of crazy. So let's see. Eric Kirk said, funny how COVID can't be found in Walmart stores, but it attacks a small mom and pop business. We talked about that all along. Light Bright, you're right, with the New World Order. And you're right. I mean, one of the things I talked about, I've done shows on this, over the course of the pandemic, where if you really think about the economic impact this had on our country, I mean, for whatever reason during the pandemic, large stores like Walmart, large stores like Target, Home Depot, Lowe's, big companies where you had hundreds of people shopping were allowed to stay open. But all the small little tiny mom and pop businesses were forced to shut down, had strict limitations. I went into one business. I can't even think of what the name of the business was. I was in a mall and I went into a business, and it was a small little business, and they could only allow, I think, 6 people in the store at a time. So I had to wait in a line outside to go into this little small store. And maybe it's because of the size of the store. I have no idea. Home Depots are huge, but you're right. If you look at a Walmart, if you look at a Target, if you look at a lot of these companies, most of their products are actually coming from China. So, that's one of the things that's happened again over the last 30, 40 years in this country, where we no longer manufacture everything. We buy everything from China. And, for whatever reason, these Chinese retailers that sell predominantly Chinese-made products were allowed to stay open throughout the pandemic. And I guess you could say, groceries are needed, things are needed. People need their toilet paper, they need their paper towels, they need to buy their groceries, and you can get those things at Target and Walmart. People still need clothes. So I guess there was a need for these businesses, but I'm not sure how it was any safer for these large businesses to remain open. Now, if you look at things like, baseball games, Major League Baseball games were cut down to a very small capacity, a number of people that were allowed in these outdoor venues. Football games, the New England Patriots didn't allow any fans in their outdoor stadium last year. So for whatever reason, you couldn't put 1,000 people into a football stadium that's outdoors, but you could put 200 to 300 people into a Walmart to go shopping for toilet paper, and that was somehow safe. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So anyway, for the people coming in, thank you for coming into my show. I really appreciate it. I'll be opening up the phone calls in a little bit. I'm just ranting a little bit. I'm willing to talk about anything today, kind of like a wide open day for me. I'm just talking about some of the things that have interested me over the last couple of days. Oh, I got to mention this. For the movie fans out there, if you haven't seen it, when I was in Long Island for baseball, we were rained out all weekend, so we had nothing to do. My son was running around the hotel with his friends. So me and my daughter decided to leave and go to a movie. We hadn't been to a movie in a while together, and we went to see A Quiet Place 2. Now, I will say, first and foremost, I was not a big fan of the first Quiet Place. That was Quiet Place 1. So I wasn't a big fan of that, but we did go out and see Quiet Place 2. And, for me, I could never go wrong when Emily Blunt is in a movie. She is one of those girls that I would hopefully get a hall pass from my wife if she showed any interest in me. But of course, I'm sure Emily Blunt's running around right now saying, I'll tell you, if that John DeVito, that podcaster, is available, he's my hall pass. Probably not. But if it did happen in one of those strange situations, hopefully the wife would give me a hall pass with Emily Blunt. But the bottom line is we did see Quiet Place 2. It was good. It was good. It was scary. I like scary movies. We went to this theater in New York where the seats were vibrating, big leather seats that you sit down in, recliners, and the whole theater was vibrating. And I actually would say, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give this movie like an 8. It's kind of like a combination of like The Walking Dead and maybe like Jurassic Park, and a lot of action. The young girl who played the deaf girl, who was actually deaf, was very, very good in her role. She was outstanding. So if you want to go see a movie, I would highly recommend go seeing A Quiet Place 2. It was pretty good, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. So I see Cummings' Culture asking me who is going to be the starting quarterback for the Patriots. Well, in my opinion, we know who the starting quarterback should be. It should be Mac Jones, but I don't understand why we re-signed Cam Newton. And, don't get me wrong now, whenever you say in New England, I don't like Cam Newton, everyone in New England is a racist. It goes back to all these things that happened with Bill Russell and the Celtics, and things that have happened at Red Sox games. And the Red Sox were the last team to have an African-American play for them in Pumpsy Green. But, when you say in New England that you don't like Cam Newton, right away you're a racist. Let me be clear on why I don't like Cam Newton. Cam Newton, honestly, seems like an excellent guy. I mean, he really does. He's beloved up here. The people love him. He's a pleasant guy. He's a great guy. He's good with the media. He's good with people. I don't know anybody in New England that doesn't like Cam Newton, the person. The problem is Cam Newton last year threw, I think it was 7 touchdown passes the entire year. The man can't throw a football anymore. For me, I wouldn't mind seeing Cam Newton go the route of Tim Tebow and maybe become like a tight end or something like that, because the man can catch the ball. He's got good hands. He's big. He's fast. And I still think he has a future in football. I just don't think he has a future in football as a quarterback. And I see Crazy Kane came in. So I've got to do this for Crazy Kane really quickly. Hold on one sec. Crazy Kane, buddy, this is for you. Ready? Here we go. Oh, I love my new sound effect. It's still going, man. I don't know how Crazy Kane didn't pass out when he recorded this for me. Oh, that's it. Okay, then so that was pretty good. So that was Crazy Kane laughing it up for us. But so anyway, Quiet Place 2 was good. I love to see Mac Jones start, but it looks like it's going to be probably Cam Newton starting the season. We talked about a bunch of different things right now. And okay, I want to bring up one more thing that I want to talk about, and then I'll open up the phone lines and talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. I'm going to go for about an hour today. So we're at about 25 minutes right now. All right. The elephant in the room. I like to talk about politics. So we've talked about some other stuff. I want to mention this. And this is one thing I truly, truly, truly don't understand. Maybe some of you can help me. Okay. Because I think this is so important. Now, in this country right now, we have the Arizona forensic audit happening, right? In my home state, New Hampshire, there's been an audit happening in Windham, New Hampshire, a very small, affluent town in the southernish New Hampshire area. And then it looks like in Georgia, we may be having another forensic audit based on the election that happened this past year, where a lot of people believe, myself included, that maybe the election was not completely fair. Now, if you go back to 2016, Trump versus Hillary, a lot of people felt that there was cheating in that election. People felt that Hillary Clinton was cheated out of the election. The Russians were involved. This was involved. They impeached Donald Trump because of it, on and on and on and on. So the Democrats, for whatever reason, spent 3 or 4 years, or even longer, 5 years, going after Donald Trump because they felt like there was cheating in the election. Okay? So now I'm looking at the news reports on the Arizona forensic audit. All right? And every left-wing news outlet, which is most of them, again, on the right side, you've got, Fox and Newsmax, pretty much all the rest are all left-wing stations. I mean, they're calling it a carnival act. They're calling it a joke. They're calling it, the biggest embarrassment in the history of our country. They're doing everything they can to discredit the forensic audit that's happening in Arizona and make it look like it's nothing but a bunch of lunatics that are running this thing and making it happen. Now, there's a couple different options here. Either A, I'm blind, I don't get it, and maybe it is just a crazy witch hunt, and Trump's a lunatic, and I've fallen in with his group, and I'm a lunatic also, and everybody that's out there, the 74 million people that voted for Trump, we're all lunatics also. Maybe that's all true. Or B, maybe there is some truth to what's happening, and the left knows that there's some truth happening with the cheating in the election, and they're doing everything they can to discredit the audit and doing everything they can to hide and prevent the truth about this election from finally coming out. Now, my question about this is, we had supposedly cheating back in 2016. We've got this forensic audit that's happening now in Arizona. We've got, the audit that's happening in New Hampshire. It's going to happen in Georgia. If there is any question of cheating in this country that's happened over the last 8 years, 12 years, 16 years, 20 years, doesn't it make sense to find out if cheating is actually happening? Now, if in 2016, the Democrats all believed that Donald Trump cheated, okay? Let's say that that's true. Let's say that Donald Trump cheated, okay? I don't know. Maybe he did. I have no idea. So let's say, for argument's sake, Trump cheated. Russia was helping. He stole the election from Hillary Clinton. Now, let's say, for argument's sake, that happened again here in 2020, where Joe Biden got 85 million votes, the most votes in the history of our country. Ballots were stuffed. There were illegal votes coming in. The Dominion machines were manipulated like they were in Venezuela. Let's assume that it happened again in 2020. So you've got the Democrats in 2016 claimed cheating for 4 years. Now you've got the Republicans jumping up and down and claiming cheating. Now, let's assume there's been no cheating. All right. It's all spin. It's all crap. It's all garbage. None of it happened. Let's believe that's the case. Okay. If none of it happened, don't we owe it to the country and to the American people to go out and investigate the cheating allegations to prove that there has actually been no cheating in both elections? So that's what I don't get here in 2021, where we have so many people that believe that the election was stolen. Now, if you're a Democrat and you firmly believe that there was no cheating in the election, Biden won fair and square, why are you doing everything you can to file lawsuits to stop it? Why are you doing everything you can to discredit the process? Why are you doing everything you can to discredit the people who believe that there was cheating? My father used to say something to me all the time. He'd say, he'd ask me if I was lying about something when I was a little kid. And I would say, no, Dad, no, I'm telling the truth. I'm telling the truth, Dad. I'm not lying. Sometimes I was lying. Sometimes I was telling the truth. But my father would always say to me, John, you know what? If you're telling the truth, you have nothing to worry about. If you're lying, the truth is eventually going to come out, and you're going to get caught in a lie. So, and it was true. I remember if I was lying to my dad and he used that comment, it was true that eventually the truth would come out whenever it happens. But if you tell him the truth, you really have nothing to worry about. So if the Democrats are telling the truth and there was no cheating and nothing happened, then why not investigate it? Why not allow it to be investigating? I would even say go a step further. If you want to prove the legitimacy of the election, then why not investigate it yourself? You know, the truth will set you free. I agree. So we've seen nothing the last 8 years, but both sides telling us there was no cheating, no cheating, no cheating. And there have been nothing but allegations from the other side that cheating exists. So, you know, we're here in America. This is supposed to be the land of freedom, America the free. God bless America. We're a free country. You know, we have the freedom to vote for our leaders. We have the freedom to vote for our politicians. If all of this has been nothing but a lie to all of us, then is everything that we have been basically following for our entire lives, is it all just fake? Is it all just a phantom? Is it all just a lie to us that we really don't have any freedom, that we really have no say over the people who are being elected into our country? Because, you know, let's face it right now. You're right, Victor. I'm starting to think that's the case, man. He says we don't have shit. And I'm starting to think that's the case, that we don't have shit. Because let's face it, you know, the Donald Trump presidency passed and he could run again. He may win again. I think he's going to be too old. He's going to be 78 years old. It's probably not going to happen. Joe Biden, his presidency will too pass. And then we're going to be, again, given a decision, you know, 3.5 years from now to elect our next president. Honestly, for the people that are in here, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, whether you're an independent, whether you're a libertarian, whatever you may be, do you believe in our election process that it's fair and it's equal? You know, for me, I don't trust it. I don't trust it. Mike from Tampa Bay says no, he doesn't trust it. That's how I feel as well. And we need to be able to trust it. We need to be able to trust it. For me, I don't understand why it's such a taboo thing for states, cities, towns, whatever, to require identification for people that are going to vote. I mean, if you really think about it, tell me one important thing that you do in this country that you do not need an ID for, okay? If you're going to go on an airplane, you need to show an ID. If you're going to drive a car or a motorcycle, you need an ID. If you're going to have a boat and drive a boat, you need a boat license. If you're going to get married, you need to have a marriage license. If you'll go to a bar, go to a package store to buy alcohol, you need an ID. You know, Massachusetts, marijuana is legal. If you want to buy marijuana, you need an ID. You need an ID for virtually everything in this country. And again, the people not right now that are telling us we have to have our vaccinations, you know, again, I've gotten mine, but I don't think anyone should be forced to get one. And for them to now tell us you're going to need to go on an airplane, you're going to need to show a vaccination card. So the same people who are telling us, you know, you have to show a card, you have to show a vaccination card, are the same people that are saying, well, you know what, to vote, you don't need an ID. I would argue that voting is one of the most important things that we do in this country to ensure that we have a real democracy. And if you're not requiring an ID for people to vote, I mean, I don't get how that's racist. I don't get how that's wrong. I really don't. And I'm not being facetious. I'm not being, you know, purposely pointless or obtuse. I mean, for me, I don't understand. I don't get it. And I mean, some of the comments that are made, I mean, you know, I know a lot of different people from a lot of different races. I think most people who are, you know, white, African American, Asian American, most people have IDs. And I think most people feel that it's fair to ask for an ID when you go to vote. So I don't know. I don't understand the thought process behind it, but I do think that in this country, we do have some problems with trust. We do have some problems where people do not trust the process. And if people on the left and people on the right don't trust the process, then I think at some point we need to make sure that the process is actually a legitimate process in which people are voting, the votes are accurate, the votes are legitimate. We don't have people stuffing ballots. We don't have people, you know, mailing in fake, fake ballots. Now, if you think about the money, the currency that we have in this country, I mean, has anyone here, probably not many people have, but has anyone here actually looked at our current currency under a microscope? I have, because I work for a STEM company and we sold microscopes, and that was one of the lessons we would teach to teachers and students about doing forensics and analyzing money under a microscope. And if you look at money under a microscope, there are so many different watermarks. There are so many different safety precautions built into it. There are all these little things that you wouldn't even recognize unless you knew where they were and knew what they were. And again, we've got money that has all these different watermarks and all these different safety features that have been put in there by the federal government. Why can't we create voting ballots that have the same type of watermarks? I mean, there's been talk that maybe Trump had those on some of the ballots this time around, and those are some of the things that are being analyzed, in Arizona right now, along with, checking to see if there's bamboo in the paper. I have no idea if there's any truth to that or not. But, all of you guys know me. I mean, I've been leaning more right the last several years, but I do know that I mean, the bottom line is, whether you're right, whether you're left, whether you're in the middle, we all love this country. I mean, I think even the people on the left, some of them, in our opinions, might be misguided, but they still love the country. They just have a different vision of what the country is supposed to be. But I think in order for us to have the true United States of America that we all grew up with, we all believe in, we need to have some assurances that the voting process is on the mark, it's legal, it's efficient, it is legitimate, and there is not widespread cheating every time we have a presidential election. Because if that's the case, stop with the fake garbage. Just tell us we're living in a communist country. Just tell us who our dictator is, and let's all move forward. Because to me, it just seems like some days we're just kind of living in this kind of crazy matrix where, I don't know, where we're not being told the truth, and you got both sides screaming that there's cheating. So if both sides scream there's cheating, we obviously have a problem. And I think there needs to be an investigation happening. So, hey, I'm going to open up the phone lines. We're at 36 minutes. If anybody wants to call in. All right, we get Eric Kirk coming in. We get Cummings' Culture. I think clicked, but I may have missed you. Oh, I connected with you. Okay, maybe I missed Eric. I hate these new things that pop. Is Eric, you pop back up again. All right. Hey, Jeremy, how you doing, man? How are things going?
It's going.
Hey, I want to say first and foremost, I heard your show. I've been off Podbean quite a bit lately, and I heard about your grandfather. Literally, I heard the show. And if you guys have not listened to the show where Jeremy got on and he talked about his grandfather's passing, and it was raw, it was sad. He was talking about how much he loved his grandfather. And I don't mean to get you upset by talking about this, but it really hit me directly in the heart. And I wanted to say to you, how much I respect you as a person and how sorry I am that you lost your grandfather, because it seemed like he was a real, father figure in your life. And, I lost my mother, and losing a parent, losing a grandparent is a very hard thing to do. So my heart's with you, brother. And I'm really sorry you lost your grandfather.
I appreciate that, man. He was more than my grandpa. He was my dad. I mean, he raised me. So it still is. Like I get people all the time. They say, "Oh, it gets better with time." Well, we're 2 weeks out, and it still doesn't.
I can talk about that a little bit. 2 weeks isn't going to do it. I mean, literally, you get to the year time frame, and things start to feel a little bit better. But then you get hit with things like birthdays, Christmas, Father's Day, things like that hit.
Easter.
I mean, for me now, it's been a long time since my mother passed away. I can't believe it's been this long. She actually died pretty young back in 2007. And it took me probably a good 3 to 5 years before I could get through things. And they didn't bother me as much. So it's going to take some time. But I can tell you that, I'm far enough out now where I think about my mother and it doesn't really make me sad anymore. But it does take time. 2 weeks, that's nothing. You're going to be looking at probably a good year before you start to feel a little bit better, because it's a hard thing. And then you get hit with, like I said, all those little things that you used to do with your grandfather, or, for in my case, my mother. But it's weird. I don't think about my mother constantly now, but even like a couple of weeks ago, I don't even know what I was thinking. Something popped up, and for whatever reason in my head, the thought popped into my mind, boy, you should call Mom and tell her. And I stopped right away. I'm like, oh man, she's been gone for a while, and to have that type of thing still pop into my head was kind of crazy. But I was really close with her, and it's very, very hard to lose somebody. So I don't want you to talk about that too much. I just wanted to acknowledge it, because I haven't been on much, and I didn't even know until I just clicked on your download and listened. I was like, holy crap. And I felt really bad. So, I love you, brother. I have a lot of respect for you. And, I will pray for you and your grandfather, and hopefully things will get a little bit easier for you, over the next few months or so. So,
well, I appreciate it. It's tough. It's like when there were people that were like, come up to me and they were like, "Oh, I lost my grandpa," and I was like, "Yeah, but he didn't raise you." And then like, I don't know if you're one of those people. Like I'm one of those people. Like, and I guess everybody's different. But when people came up to me, like there was one person that could really tell me, and the family.
right.
When we were at the funeral, there was only one person that could really tell me that I know how you feel because she was in the same boat I was.
Right.
And when people were coming up to me and they were like, "Oh, I know how you feel," it sort of like, I hate to say it, but it did. It sort of like ticked me off.
Yep.
Because it was like, no, you don't. Like I wanted to say it so many times, but I just sit there and just kept my mouth shut. But it was just, I wanted to say so bad, no, you don't.
Well, it's little things will happen like that. Like I heard that part of your podcast where you were talking about family members and things like that also. And there's no doubt about that, where there are going to be people that come up that just piss you off, that try to relate, and probably in their mind, they're trying to say what they can to make you feel better, but sometimes they just don't come out right. One of the things I am most embarrassed about that happened to me, and this happened, it was probably, I don't know if it was a year or 2 years after my mother passed away. My father-in-law, who's actually coming to stay with us tonight for about a week, he's a good guy. He's kind of an Asperger's guy that never realized he really had Asperger's and doesn't always say the right things. And, he's a good guy, though. He's a good grandfather, cares about his kids and his grandchildren, and, doesn't always go about it the right way. And sometimes he's misunderstood, but he's coming tonight. But anyway, we went to my in-laws' house for Mother's Day. It was probably 2 years after my mother's passed away. And I remember I said to my wife, I'm like, you know what? I don't think I should go today. And she's like, John, you got to go. It's Mother's Day. You got to see my mother. And I really loved my mother-in-law. She unfortunately passed away also about 5 years ago from cancer. But I remember I said to my wife, I'm like, I'm just not feeling right today. I don't think I should go. And I really couldn't even put my finger on it, what it was. I mean, I knew it was obviously Mother's Day and that was a trigger. But we went to my father-in-law's house, and there were, a handful of people over there, probably 7, 8, 9, 10 people, somewhere in that ballpark. And my father-in-law was just joking with my wife, just joking. And he said to her, something like, "Oh, you're being a bad mother." And he was just kidding. He did not mean anything by it. It was not meant to be malicious. He wasn't being abusive. I absolutely snapped. I lost it. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, I was a 12. I lost my mind, started screaming at him. I literally, didn't really go after him because people grabbed me. I mean, I stood up out of nowhere and just snapped. And literally, I had some people there that kind of brought me down the basement stairs and took me outside. I went and sat in my car and literally just started crying, And it's just one of those things where that comment just triggered me. I don't know why it did, but it did. And I remember I called them. We left. My wife came down and, she obviously knew I was upset. So I called them on the way home and apologized. And right away, they were like, "John, don't worry. We completely understand. It's okay." And they forgave me, whatever. But it was an embarrassing thing that I did. And, I just didn't see it coming. It literally, I didn't even know it came out of nowhere. I just snapped and lost it. And it was things that were built inside. And I knew I shouldn't have gone that day because I wasn't feeling right. And, sometimes things pop up when you don't expect it. So just, hang in there, do the best you can do. That's all you can do.
I had that happen the other day. Like somebody, it was my sister, said something and it just triggered me. And I lost it. I was outside working on something and she said something that triggered me and I just grabbed the whole table and flipped the whole table and just tools went everywhere and I just lost it. I mean, but I've always had a bad temper, and that's the thing that my grandmother always told people. She was like, "Hey, since my grandpa's gone, he was always the one that told me, hey, reel it in, buddy, because he was my age. He had that temper too, and he was she was telling him, "Hey, you're going to have to watch."
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say, you're like me. You're like a big alpha male. You're the same way as I am. So those things happen sometimes.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, she was telling my family members like, "Hey, y'all are going to have to, stay. Don't say nothing that's going to come off the wrong way. You're going to have to watch what you say around him because, Jerry's not here to reel him in no more, and he'll just lose it. And because that's the way he was. That's what she told me last night. She told me, she said that after his dad died, she was like he was the same way. Said that he would just lose it. She cooked beans one night and she accidentally scorched them and she didn't know it and he ate one or two of them right after his dad died, she had him sitting on the table, and he just picked up the whole table and flipped the whole table and just flipped out for no reason. And I guess it just runs in the family.
Yeah, you know what though? I mean, it's something where all you can do is try the best you can to control it. I mean, I think that's why, for me, for so many years, like I know you played as well, playing football was a good thing for me, where I was able to channel some of that stuff and some of the aggression through playing, a contact sport. Hey, Kanye, welcome to the show. I see Mike's comment. I don't know if you see it. Cummings' culture, you are a sexy, burly man. And I got to say, I saw some of your TikToks over the weekend. I was liking your TikToks. I made a comment about one of them. They were pretty funny, so I was kind of enjoying some of the things. Like, you see the one TikTok that you kind of dueled on was the one where that kid came in, what would you do if I came into your house and threatened your family or whatever, and you just ragged on. Did you see my comment, what I said on that one?
Oh no, I haven't looked at the comments.
I went in because he had kind of like little moves going. So I was like, all I do is just give him like a booby twister and that'd be the end. Oh man. But anyway, so what do you think about some of the political things? And before I go to that, let me say, I want to say hi to Eric. Eric, how you doing, man?
Doing good today. Yourselves?
Doing well. How was your weekend, buddy? Did you have decent weather anyway? In Georgia, it was crappy up here.
Well, the weather was good over the weekend. I finally finished mowing half the backyard, but I know I'm going to have to get back to doing the front yard again. Like, I just can't seem to get rid of these stubborn yellow dandelions because they just keep growing back.
Oh, yeah. The dandelions are a pain. And Crazy Kane, did I not friend you back on TikTok? If I didn't, I will. I'll go and look. Sometimes I miss those, and I don't always get them, but I'll look for you and I'll make sure I friend you back. So I apologize if I missed you, buddy. But yeah, we didn't up here, dude, just rain all weekend. So at least you had some good weather. Now, where do you mow the lawn? Do you mow the lawn at the house you live in or at your in-laws' house or your family's house?
Yeah, I'm with a push mower.
Nice. So you got
the house I live at.
Oh, see, I got that's one of the things I enjoy doing. I have like a nice John Deere rider mower. And for me, I love getting on the back of that bad boy and just cruising around my yard, and definitely better than the push mower. I push mowed my lawn for years, and it's kind of a big lawn, and it's really hilly, and it used to take me forever. So I actually enjoy mowing my lawn now. I used to hate the push mower, so I don't miss that at all. At all. Now, how about you, Cummings? You look like you'd be a ride tractor type of guy as opposed to a push mower guy.
Yeah. I got a Toro. I got a 50-inch Toro, nice. Zero turn.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I don't have a zero turn. I wish I had one of those. Those are pretty cool mowers. But hey, listen, so some of the things I was talking about, I went through a bunch of different topics. We got some new people in here. I mean, what do you think about some of the things I was talking about regarding, the government with the forensic audits? Why is there so much resistance? I mean, they are doing everything they can to make this process look like it's just a circus. Yeah. And discredit is all they're doing. What's your take on that?
So it sounds to me like they just don't want checks and balances in our voting system.
I think you're right. I mean, I think that, and it just makes no sense. Hey, I like that name, McBrainy, coming in. That's a good name. Welcome, McBrainy. Good name coming into the show. But no, I agree. I think that you would think that if the country really wants to have a legitimate voting system, you would want it to be fair for everybody. And I just don't think that's the case. I think that they like the fact they can manipulate. There was supposedly cheating in 2016, supposedly cheating in 2020. And anytime there's a push to regulate voting, then it's racist, then it's this, then it's that. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, and the cheating in our election system, this has probably been going on for decades, if not centuries, because I think what it is powers that be don't want everyday people like us deciding the future of this country. It might very well already be decided for us. And the thing about running for president, I've always heard this thing that you can't just run for president, you've got to be groomed for it.
Yeah, well, and I got to say, too, I'm looking down at the chat. I see the only crazy lady. I love that name. That's a fantastic name. So I just had to comment on that. But your comment was right on the mark. And I do think that, I've been saying this for years. If you look at the way we vote for president, I mean, each side gives you their henpecked person. And, I mean, you think you have a say in who gets the nomination from the left or the right. You really don't. They give you who they want to give you. Then you get your choice of two people. And then with those two people, it seems like the votes are all being manipulated anyway. So you're right. I mean, it probably is just an entire farce that we have. And I'm trying to think. When I was in Germany a few years back, this is kind of cool. So bear with me on this story. I was in Germany, in Frankfurt, Germany, and I had a really good night out with a group of guys. I was with a buddy of mine. We went to Amsterdam, went to Frankfurt, Germany, had a blast. We were in this bar in Rüsselsheim, Germany, and we walked in and we were having drinks, and we met these guys that played football for NFL Europe. Cool guys. And then we met some other guys that were from Russia. And we were sitting there having beers, 2 guys from the U.S., 2 guys from Germany, and 2 guys from Russia, right? I mean, really cool. So we're chilling out, we're talking, and the guys from Russia, I made a comment to them because, I remember I made a comment to the guys from Germany about Hitler and about what happened. And the guy looks back at me and says, well, you're right. What happened wasn't good, but how is that any different from what you guys did to the American Indians? And I was like, yeah, you're right. And then I remember talking to the guys in Russia, talking about the communism and talking about that type of thing. The guys in Russia laughed at me when I said that. They laughed and they said, so you're going to talk about communism coming from the United States of America. He goes, so you guys really believe you're free, huh? And at that point, I was kind of younger and kind of stupid. And I was like, well, yeah, we live in a free country. We vote for our president. I remember the guys just looked at me and they were like, the United States is no more free than the Soviet Union or Russia is. And I remember that comment has stuck with me for however long it's been, probably 20 years since I went there. And then we went on drinking the rest of the night. My buddy caught his sleeve on fire, doing like a flaming shot. He literally caught the sleeve of his shirt on fire that night. We had a blast. But it was just kind of cool with a bunch of people having a good night, drinking some beers from different countries. And it's kind of cool that we get to do that on Podbean now also. Hey, I see Christine Candy, Blockchain coming into the show. Thank you for joining me. If you're here for the first time, please follow. We have an open forum right now. So if anybody wants to call in and talk, we've got Cummings and Eric right now. We've got, I can never say this podcast right. BAA Ram EWE Podcast.
BAA Ram EWE.
I can't say it. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. I can't pronounce anything. I sound like Joe Biden.
He was talking about the Earth being flat and all that.
Yeah, who was that? Because I thought that was the craziest thing in the world. Because once I hear things like that, I start researching and start reading, and the more you read about it, there are a lot of viable, arguments about theory. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering. Like, here's one of the things I used to get on to people who believed in the flat Earth theory. I really did. I used to be one of those people.
What are you, stupid? You crazy?
Yeah, and then I looked into it and I started doing research, and one of the things that got me was the map that they give pilots. Like, I never knew that. Like, the flight plans. Like, I was like, okay, well, you got me there. And then the water always being level, but we're on a ball and we're spinning at 60,000 miles an hour or something like that. And I was like, okay, you got me there too. So I don't get on to people anymore. And the only thing I say now is when people say, well, the Earth's flat or the Earth is round, is I don't know. I've never been up there and looked back at it.
Well, I say that, the more I've researched about the moon landing, I don't think the moon landing ever happened. I mean, I don't think at that time, I don't think at that time we had the technology to get there. And when you look at the actual videos, it made no sense. A lot of the things that would happen on there, like the way the flag was blowing with no atmosphere, there were no stars in the background. And then the thing that I don't get is we supposedly had these several moon landings in the 1960s and 1970s, and then we didn't go back for 50 years. Are you telling me there was nothing for us to learn on the moon? We explored the whole. I mean, how did we not go back? I mean, again, if you wanted to travel to Mars, why wouldn't you have a colony on the moon preparing for space travel and living in space? But we haven't been back in 50 years. It makes no.
You know why they
sense.
said they? You know why they said we haven't been back?
Why?
Because we lost the technology. We don't have the technology to go back.
Yeah, I mean, how do we not have the technology to go back if we had it back in, the 1960s and 1970s? It doesn't make any sense. Let's see. I see.
Or it just tells you that they probably know more things that they don't want us knowing and finding out.
Okay, Deborah has a question. Maybe you guys know the answer to this. I see this in the chat. Does anyone remember who first discovered that the world was round in the way of an explorer named? I don't know. Do you guys know who was the first person that discovered the world was round? You guys know? I slept through most of my
I
classes,
can't think
so
of the
I'm not
name
usually
right
very helpful.
offhand.
Oh, there we go. We got an answer. Yes, Magellan?
Magellan.
Is it Magellan? That's a question mark. I don't know if that's right or not.
That name seems to ring a bell with me. I think Jessica might be right.
The only reason that name rings a bell for me is because in the movie Tommy Boy, when they were lost going to, was it Missouri or wherever the hell they were going, David Spade insulted Chris Farley and called him Magellan. He couldn't figure out the map. So that's the only way. That's the only thing. Oh, she got it. But Magellan. Jess Duck, nice job.
Congratulations, Jess.
Let me get back to my sound effects here. Now I'm really slow, obviously. Boomer technology here. I got to go back like 6 different screens. Here we go. Ready? And I don't have the sound turned up. Let's try again. All right, I give up. I can't do it. I'm a moron. All right, so anyway, I tried to make the sound. It didn't work. But so that's pretty cool. So Magellan, now, you know, let's see. Mike from Tampa Bay. Hellenistic astronomy established the roughly spherical shape of the Earth as a physical fact and calculated the Earth's circumference. I mean, honestly, if you ask me the question, I believe the Earth is round. But I mean, you know, I don't know. I question.
It's not everything. A perfect circle.
Well, I don't believe, honestly, anything that's told to me. I question everything. Now, Bar, we've got you on. Did you want to talk anything about this or anything else? Because we got you sitting up there. Let me let you go and take over the microphone. Bar, you there, buddy?
Bar Ram, can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Can you guys?
Oh, there he is.
There
he is.
Is there an echo?
You're echoing.
You're good now.
Okay. Is that better?
Perfect.
Let me see if you're. Don't sound like you're echoing anymore. Don't sound like you're echoing anymore. Oh, it's back.
Yeah, it was just something to talk about.
Do you have
a
headset? Yeah, and not that way you're not doing it on like a Bluetooth enabled radio.
Yeah, just go ahead, Bob. We'll let you go. Just go ahead. It's a little bit of an echo, but I can deal with it. Go ahead. Did we lose him? All right,
it was just on your 2 points about the aliens at the start, and then the voting system in America, to kind of put those into perspective. I'm into conspiracies. I've got my own podcast, and I love all that stuff. And something that stuck with me very early on was when I heard that, you know, the whole the worst kept secret in the world is that we're going to have like a one world government. So the whole alien agenda, and if you remember Ronald Reagan saying in front of the UN, it wouldn't be the worst thing if we were to be attacked by aliens. You know, it was something along those lines, because it would bring us all together. So, you know, the conspiracy theorists all believe that there's an alien agenda happening, and by 2025, we'll all believe in aliens. I still won't, because I just believe that it's us. You know, we have the technology to build these spaceships and traverse in different, you know, the way that UFOs do. And in regards to the voting system, that could be another agenda as well, where they're basically going to show, I think they might eventually show us how rigged the system is, so that we all just say, look, let's just scrap this whole system and let's just implement maybe the UN or someone that's going to be like our one world government.
Yeah, I mean, that certainly makes sense, because I certainly agree with you that agenda is going to be happening, where they're looking to create that one world government. And I mean, you know, if you look at all the talk over the last probably 10, 15 years, they've been slowly assimilating us into trying to get us to believe there's aliens and all those type of things. Now, if you look at also things like the B-2 bomber, I mean, the first flight of the B-2 bomber was 1989, 31 years ago. And God knows when that thing was actually created, probably in the late 70s, early 90s. So if we had something like the B-2 bomber back then, could you imagine the technology that we've created now by the year 2021 that we know nothing about? And you're right, probably a lot of those flights that we're seeing and a lot of those supposed UFOs are things that the government has created that we just don't know about. And it makes sense. So you think that all of this is all part of maybe the one world government conspiracy that's happening to us right now. Now, was the pandemic part of that as well, in your opinion?
It's just you touched on it earlier with the basically bringing in communism, where all the Walmarts, the Targets, the Amazons, they're all flourishing. Meanwhile, all the mom and pop shops are getting dismantled, and it's a bigger thing that you can imagine. Like it's all. I know I'm sounding pretty cliche here, but everything is part of an agenda. And when you look into this stuff, like I have been for like 3 years, I now listen to the news and I see, when I hear a headline, it's like, oh, that's because this is what they want to do. I see it now.
No, I completely agree with you 100%. I believe in everything you're saying, and I do think that everything that we're being fed is untrue. I don't believe in the majority of the things that have been coming our way, and I think you're right. I think that there's certainly a bigger agenda on hand, but with the world leaders and the ultra wealthy, and I agree with you completely. How about others in here? I mean, Mike, you're in. Cummings is in. Eric, you're in. What do you guys think about this?
About the aliens?
Well, about really anything to do with what we just kind of talked about. I mean, do you believe that there was a great plan using things like the pandemic, using things like the belief in aliens, using all these different things for us to mold together so we can become like this one world entity? Do you believe those things are true?
Absolutely, because there's too many inconsistencies that are all lining up to be a deceitful act. Like, for instance, there's not a solid.
I don't know. You got interrupted, Mike.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
We lost you for about 5 seconds. So
okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's like no solid authority on the pandemic, right? There's no sound voice that we all can go to and say, yes, this is true. There's too many inconsistencies. That's a red flag. Aliens, like say the pictures and video of aliens, ships or aircrafts are pixelated out of focus, is not usually a clear defined picture. It's a little odd that the amount of sightings we're supposedly getting, we should at least have a good clear video or photo and that would be able to capture these images. And especially with the technology we have, it's just, there's that right there is another inconsistency. The pandemic too fastly put upon this nation with these authoritative rules and this pressure on our society. It's just, these things are too inconsistent, too many red flags. There's no solid assurances.
Yeah, Cummings actually just said something on Twitter.
And I think a subject even.
Go ahead. It's okay. Go ahead, bud.
Well, I think Jeremy has also touched about this on his show too, like with the whole like UFO conspiracies, and then documents about UFOs, slated to be declassified because like before the one world government and the Antichrist, reveal themselves, that there will be an event called the Rapture where born again Christians will suddenly disappear. The only thing they'll leave behind is clothing and other earthly possessions like electronic devices, dental braces, dental fillings, eyeglasses, body piercings, whatnot. But they're going to try to cook up this bullcrap story that aliens abducted them and murdered them.
All right, so let me ask you this question then. And so, why are we here? We had a show about this, and I was kind of honored a little bit. I did a show a while back titled "Why Are We Here?" and then 3 days later, what's the big guy there on Podbean that stole my show idea?
Bards FM, Scott Kesterson.
Can you believe that? Bards FM.
And Scott Kesterson is a big fraud.
He gets over 1,000 people in his lives. If I'm lucky, I get 20 or 25, and he comes in and steals my show idea. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Plagiarism.
Okay, well, let me ask you, for everybody that's in here, this show kind of went in a different direction. I'm fine with that. Why are we here? What the hell is the Earth? Why are we here? What's the purpose of us being here? And if you're saying that again at some point, if you're a born-again Christian, all of a sudden you're going to be taken up to heaven or wherever. I mean, why are the rest of us here then if you don't get taken? Because I'm not a born-again Christian. Why are we on the planet? Why are we here on Earth? What is Earth?
It was never intended.
I was going to say, my grandmother used to say she felt that the Earth was purgatory. I'm not sure where she got that, but that's what she used to talk about.
It was never.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
It was never intended for man to, like if you go back and you read the Bible, right? Here's my issue with a lot of it. If you go back and you read the Bible, now, John, a lot of you've heard the story of Eve ate an apple, right?
Right.
And that's why, that's not true.
The forbidden fruit.
Yeah, if you go back and you actually read the Bible, is it an apple? No, it's not an apple. Is it a fruit? You don't know if it's a fruit because it said that the snake or Satan beguiled her. So does that mean? Could it mean? What do you refer to a woman's virginity? How do you tell if a woman is a virgin?
How do you tell?
Yeah, if a woman is a virgin, how do you tell most times? What do you call it?
Well, physically you can tell. I mean, there's a physical way of checking, but I don't know which. Yeah.
Well, they say everybody says popping her cherry, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so that's a fruit, right? What if she had sex? What if it's a parable? What if that's how he beguiled her? She had sex because she was innocent. She didn't know anything. They were supposed to live forever. And it doesn't matter if it's science or if it's biblical. They all come to the same conclusion that we all descended from two people. We had to.
Right.
And it's just like, it was never intended for us to be the way we are. And what I think this is I think what happened was, this is just a big test. I mean, you didn't know where you were before, but you had to be somewhere before, because you can't develop consciousness. If you look at science tells you that energy never dies. Well, your body and your brain puts off so much energy. So that tells you right there that your energy is never going to die. So where are you going? What are you doing?
Well, that's one thing I talk a lot about. Did you see Blockchain's comment? I got to throw this out there. How did the snake communicate to Adam and Eve, though? Considering they were the first male and female, how did communication work? Sign language? I'm not sure. I just thought that was funny.
No, I mean, it could be a parable. I mean, that's the way it works. I mean, it could be a parable. When it talks about the snake, the serpent, well, he acted like a snake, because you know how a snake charms a bird and snaps the bird, and kills it. So It could be just a parable. We don't know. And it's like people that go back and they were reading the Bible in the old days. I had a preacher one time. I told him this because not everybody reads the Bible literally. Like if you just sit down and you just read it, and then you just read the whole thing, well, then you're going to see the correlations to everything. Like Abraham, God was going to make him a father to many nations. Okay, but then he said, okay, but you're going to have to sacrifice your son to me. Well, then right before he did it, he stopped him. Well, why did he do that? Well, because then you get the story of Jesus. Well, he was God's only son, so God sacrificed his son, so he was seeing if Abraham would do for him what God was going to do for the earth. See, like, it's like a judge. It's justice. Like, God is eternal. Like that's the thing that people can't seem to wrap their head around, is that this thing like this God is an eternal being. Like it's just no beginning, no end, and then he says he is the beginning and he says he is the end. Well, wait a minute. So that means he's eternal. He's outside of our time. Like our time is nothing. But if you could fit God inside your 8-pound brain, he wouldn't really be God. And I think that's the problem. People try to fit it all in there, and they all try to, well, where did God come from? They can't come up with a concept. They can't wrap their head around that maybe this dude has just always been around.
Right.
And I think that's a problem for a lot of people. And I think that, I don't know if we live on a flat earth or if we live on a box or a sphere or whatever it is. I'm not going to condemn anybody for what they believe on that, because I can't go back and I can't see it because they're not going to let me. It's like they're not going to let us go to Antarctica. It's just,
we'll have to do a show on Antarctica, because I've been researching Antarctica quite a bit, and there's a lot of questions about what happens on Antarctica. I think I'm gonna have to schedule a show and have you on. We're gonna have to talk about that a little bit, because there's a lot of theories what's happening there, man. I'm sure some of you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, I'm at over an hour. I got to cut this, unfortunately, because I got to get back to work.
Yeah.
But anyway, I appreciate all you guys calling in today and talking about the different things we talked about. And hopefully I can get into some of your shows coming up again soon. But Eric, do you want to kind of read off some of the other shows that are coming up and do some of that? And then we'll wrap this back so I can get back to work.
Well, in case you missed it, our good buddy Cracks of the former Talking Corner podcast, which is since evolved into Exotics Radio over on YouTube, she visited Old Man this morning, and I've already let her know that you would be very honored to have her on for the Get to Know Your Podcaster interview series, and I think we're still going to work on Ralph and Freedom Warrior and a couple other friends coming on soon. And if BAA Ram EWE is interested in doing a Get to Know Your Podcaster interview, we'd welcome having him on. But coming up on Podbean Live today, I think at the top of the hour, Dark Bear should be doing his show. So if he is doing a show today, so definitely be on lookout for him, and and be on lookout for, of course, Milk Dog doing multiple shows a day as usual. And
Milk Dog Dog is on like all the time. He's a beast.
Yeah, I mean he's got to stay in the top 20. And if Jeremy decides to do an impromptu show and surprises, be on lookout for him and the Slightly Serious show at 9:30 Eastern time tonight. And also be on lookout later in the week for Frankie D's Crib, and be on lookout for Laura and Pink Squirrel to do their shows, and then Mysteries of the Paranormal and Chris Unplugged and the Turkey Show and the Doomsday Podcast and the Beans and Weenies show over the weekend.
You were muted the whole time. It sucks.
What happened?
Yeah.
And be on lookout for my Tampa Bay show this whole time. I'm like, what the heck, man? Basically, I'll just sum up that quickly where it says we all have a historical myopia of a worldview. We have a nearsightedness of a worldview of what's really going on. It's the worldview. I think that we're narrow-sighted and not looking at everything in whole. But man, I wish that's a really good topic, John. Damn it, I was muted the whole time too.
Hey, dude, hold on now, dude. Yeah. You're too young to be a boomer, all right? So you can't be doing stuff like that. That's my domain.
Cummings is culture confirmed. He'll be on this evening at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. And also be sure to check out like Mike Tampa Bay's show, and also be on lookout for Torch the Poet, and also be on lookout for Trice Talk and Tall Tales in the Rabbit Hole and Ralph and Freedom Warrior. And then the old man is back tomorrow morning as always.
Yeah, Doc Bear has a show going on tonight. We're talking to anti-maskers.
Yeah, so he's going to be going live in about 25 minutes.
You're a blonde. That's great. All right, everybody. Hey, listen, I love you all. Thank you for coming in. I'll try to do another couple.
God bless you, everybody.
All right, talk to you all soon. Take care now.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.